Welcome back to Ron's Radio Corner. And this is really one of my favorite radio devices. This is a C Crane FM Transmitter 2. And I've owned this, I think, for a couple of years now. And really, the story behind this for me is I have um, a RCA Globetrotter radio that I've done a video on that goes back to like the late 1940s, like 1948, 1949, and it's AM. And I really sort of wanted a way to use that radio, to have an excuse to use that radio. And and at the same time, I also wanted the ability to uh, be able to maybe stream music to my GE Super Radio 3, and I thought, well, I'd like an AM transmitter. I know this is FM. Um, so I did a little bit of digging around, and I did know that such a thing as an FM transmitter existed. I can remember um, really inexpensive ones being for sale, like in department stores, so you could take your portable CD player or whatever and listen to it on your car radio. Um, I'm also just about old enough to remember when you had FM. Well, it's kind of confusing. I think they did call them FM transmitters, but they were little tiny FM radios, uh, something the size of a pocket radio that would transmit an FM signal on an AM station so that you could listen to it on your AM car radio. And thankfully, I'm not old enough where I actually had one of them, but I do remember seeing them, from time to time in someone's car. So anyway, as I was sort of exploring the idea of getting some sort of transmitter, I reached out to Jay from Radio J Allen, and I was asking for his advice. And he basically suggested that I consider getting the C Crane FM transmitter 2 or 3. That, in his opinion, and I really don't want to speak for him, so go to his website, read his reviews on this, but he rates it very highly. Let me say that. Um, so I started to look around. This is, I think, around $60 if you go to the C Crane website, and I did not want to commit that sort of money. Uh, so I picked this one up used on eBay, and I don't regret that. But but I will say, I also today wouldn't hesitate to spend the $60 to buy it new, um, because I do get a lot of use out of this. Really enjoy using this, and it performs amazingly well. Although watch today will I'll disprove that theory. So I picked this one up secondhand off of eBay. Now, one problem I did run into with this is it's pretty simple in its operation. Right, you have a power button here. Turn it on, and you can see that it's telling you what channel it's broadcasting. For me, it's 91.5. You can tune what channel you want to tune over by selecting these buttons. So basically, you find a spot on the FM dial that for you doesn't have any professional radio station already broadcasting over it. You find that dead space on the dial. You set to this to that channel, and then you just take your 3.5 millimeter jack here, basic headphone jack, and you plug this into whatever device you want to use. And you could have an MP3 player, or I tend to use my laptop. Trying to think of what else. I mean, really, I guess anything that's got this jack, you could use. I mean, I don't know if you necessarily want to use an FM radio to transmit over to FM radio, but I suppose you could if you had a FM radio that was really good at pulling in channels, but you wanted to listen to it on a different radio. Or I guess you could take, a shortwave radio that has a headphone jack and broadcast over the FM dial, so you could maybe listen to that in other rooms of the house on a FM radio that you had there. But for me, I tend to use this with my laptop, although I could certainly see if you have an old MP3 player around, that would be a great use too. A cell phone, right? I I typically use an iPhone that does not have the standard headphone jack, but if you had a cell phone that has a headphone jack, or you got the adapter so you could have a headphone jack, I could see where you could use a cell phone so you could stream music from your cell phone and then send it to the radio of your choice using this. There is a input level here, and I guess the best advice is not to have this at maximum. Give it a little breathing room so you don't overload the signal. But I really haven't had much of an issue. On this side, you have the AC adapter that would plug in here, and then of course the cable that's in my hand here is hardwired. You get the little antenna. I suppose you could stand it up like that. Mine intends to always sit on the table like that. The one problem I've had with this is after I owned it for a while, I started having an issue where I would turn it on and it would run for a short amount of time and then shut itself off. And at first I thought it must be this power switch, maybe a dirty contact or something in there. And I actually opened this up and tried to clean the connections, which is how I ended up getting a little sloppy and getting a little haze in the window there. Just tried to look to see why this is making a bad connection. And for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I finally stumbled across the fact that if I ran this on AA batteries, it worked fine. But if I used the AC adapter, I would have this problem. So I reached out to C-Crane, and of course I bought the second hand, and I'd had it for a while. I certainly wasn't expecting them to send me a brand new unit or anything like that. And they were fantastic in trying to help me. I think they gave me a discount toward a new AC adapter, and I bought a second AC adapter thinking that that was the issue, and it wasn't the issue. I still had the same problem. So the issue lies with the unit itself. The problem is it works on batteries. So I would love to go buy, use this as an excuse to buy an FM transmitter 3, but this still works on AA batteries. So what I did is I picked up off of Amazon some rechargeable AA batteries, and it uses two AA batteries. So I picked up some rechargeable AA batteries. Right now, it doesn't have the rechargeable ones in it. I just threw a couple of cheap AA's in it because honestly, the charging cables and stuff had gotten packed up in a recent move, and I hadn't dug them out. So I wish I could tell you how long the battery life is, how long it'll last. C-Crane probably has some information on that. But to be honest, it lasts a good long time. The one problem that I do have is I need to remember, particularly with the batteries, I need to remember to shut this off when I'm not using it. I have occasionally, turn off the radio and sort of, sometimes I forgot to turn off the radio, which is another. I wish I wish there was something in this that if it recognized it wasn't receiving a signal in, sent out an audible cue, like a little chime or something every, I don't know, could be every minute, just to remind you, hey, you've left me on. And because I have left the radio on and didn't realize, I could hear some faint static, but I wasn't right next to it, so I didn't hear it. So that might be the only drawback. The AC adapter not working, but again, that's a used unit. I don't necessarily think that reflects on a brand new FM transmitter. I have no idea how well this was utilized, and maybe I kept it on way too much. I have no idea. But I do wish there was some sort of audible cue when it's not receiving a line, a signal on that line in, so you knew enough to turn it off and turn the radio off. So how does it work? Basically, like I said, you plug this end in, you turn it on, broadcast music. But let's give this a little bit of a shot. So let me pause here. Okay, so turn the unit on, which let me Let me set it this way. Got this little guy on and tuned in. I've got the other end plugged into my laptop. Little delays as I switch back and forth. Like I said, you can, hopefully none of that triggers it. None of that should trigger because none of it's original recordings, any copyright stuff. But you can, you can pretty much broadcast anything that you want over this. Pretty simple. But like I said, you probably can't tell considering I'm using this tiny little FM radio, but the sound quality is actually pretty good. I mean, I use this and broadcast music off my laptop to my GE Super Radio 3 all the time, and other radios, not just the GE Super Radio 3. I mean, I will put on a playlist of music and play it around the house around Christmas time. If I had anybody over here, I put on a random playlist of Christmas music that I have, and then I would have different radios turned on to play it in different rooms. So every room you walked into, in the background there was this lull of Christmas music. It's a fun little device. I imagine anybody who really likes radio and also wants the ability to listen to their programming should consider owning one of these. And I know there's a lot of other ones out there. Some of them much cheaper, but this one works so well. If I had to replace this tomorrow, I would definitely just go to C Crane and pick up another one. So here we go, the C Crane FM Transmitter 2. I think if you're looking for one now, you have to buy the FM Transmitter 3, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there's a little bit of improvement from the original to the second one and the second one to the third one, although they all seem to look like they work exactly the same. If you've ever thought about picking one up, I would certainly I would certainly recommend it. Like I said, if for some reason I had to replace this one tomorrow, I would not hesitate to go purchase another one from C Crane directly. So thanks for watching. Till the next time.